Studied photography, film, and I was a photographer for 15 years, working with the likes of Springsteen, Dylan, Morrissey, George Michael, directing 100 music videos. And then I decided I hated it. I hated photography, I hated everything about it, the lifestyle, and I decided to become an artist.
Why did you hate it?
It was incredibly unprofessional, and it was boring. It just got boring. 15 years of taking photographs, lights in one place, another place, I just fell out of love with it. I spent a day with Bob Dylan, and he's an extraordinary person. He's not like a mere mortal. He has something very special with him. So as a photographer, I was able to go into people like Pavarotti and Bob Dylan's life and Morrissey's, for a day, maybe a week, spend a month on the road with John Lydon when he was in Public Image. And it just was fascinating being with these people for that period of time. A band once asked me to make the still move. And I'd always watched films as a kid, Magnificent Seven, all the great westerns. And so it was quite a natural process to make the still image move. And it just was really exciting. I felt very comfortable with a crew. I never was my own director of photography. I always stood back so I could actually direct. At the beginning, the music videos were great. You were allowed to be very creative. You might be working with the band only or just one really great person in the marketing department, a record company. And over the 10-year period, it turned out that the budgets decreased by about tenfold, and there's suddenly 20 people telling you what to do. And I used to go home after a day's shoot really unfulfilled. So I would take a month off, normally December every year, and just do my own painting. And that started to take over what I was really interested in. This deals with the fame and shame of America. Again, I love that fame and shame, the good and bad. But this is a narrative. This is taking you on a journey through American history, from the Native American Indians, Ali, JFK being shot, Elvis, and then we've got the Rolling Stones in here, the English guys who want to be American. The process I use is silk screening, and I put diamond dust on them. And I just love to play with a very aggressive and violent image, but glamorize it. Yeah. I just like that contrast, because people, when they see the diamond dust, they're seduced. And they want to love it, but then they see the subject matter and they want to be sort of repelled from that. So it's like putting oil and water together. I like to work with almost good and evil, and I was very sick a year ago, so that took me to a different place, a very dark place. But out of that darkness, I created these incredible, bright, colorful paintings, huge paintings with 72 colors in the 4 paintings. And then it took me to a very dark place, that I'd always been fascinated with death and serial killers. But instead of looking at pictures and looking at films and researching them, I suddenly had to have stuff from the primary source. So I started collecting serial killer memorabilia and paintings and things like Charles Manson's hair, and so I had to have it in really close, because I'd been in a coma for 8 days and was meant to die, shouldn't be alive. And so when you go there, you sort of drag yourself down into this whirlpool of hate and death. I worked with a photographer called Henry Diltz, who was around in the early Rolling Stones, Doors days, and we did a great collaboration together. And then I worked with Mick Rock, who really took the unholy trinity of David Bowie, Lou Reed and Iggy Pop, and we collaborated on a series together. It's interesting, with Henry, I found this great picture of Keith Richards under his couch, and he just let me have free rein. But Mick had some really definite ideas about which pictures. So we sort of, you know, I guess we wrestled and fought and slapped each other and then kissed and made up and then came out with that whole series, which I was really pleased with. And I have a studio in California, which is where I live, and then I also go to New York for maybe 2 or 3 months a year and stay out there and work with the master printer. When I work with the master printer, I've normally got the finished idea, and I might be working with 8 or 9 assistants, and we're very intensely working through the night and a very heavy creative period of actually creating. But I come up with most of the ideas in my studio in California. I have nothing electronical in there, no phones, no TVs, just an old record player. I have maybe 20 different sketch pads that are full of ideas and things like, you know, stuck all over the walls. And sometimes ideas cross-pollinate, and, you know, so I'm normally working on 5 or 6 series at the same time. I have 3 young children of my own, and, you know, adults can speak up for themselves, but children are taken advantage of all over the world. And the main charity I work with is a charity called the R.E.M. And we do workshops with terminally ill and, you know, long-term patients. Some patients have been there 15 years, you know, in hospital. So we take workshops in. I might go do spin art, you know, when we're working with cancer patients. And we actually work in rooms that have oxygen in them so they can take their masks off. And, you know, sterile rooms. Wow. And we let the paint go everywhere. We put it over ourselves, the equipment, the nurses, everything like that. I do live performances of silk screening, where I've used my own blood as ink, and I'm about to take that to another level, which almost becomes performance art. So that's where I'm going.